$5,850 for a family. Now, if you have questions about that, I would suggest you call the head person at Midstate Bank. Her name is Connie Schaft, and the number is 473-6861. That's a direct line, and she can answer the questions. If you want to have your, if you've got a, what do you call him, accountant?
Hey, I had my accountant.
Who's your accountant?
Jeannie Potter.
Jeannie Potter. So if your accountant isn't Jeannie Potter, and you've got a different accountant and they have no clue, ask them to call Connie Schaff at 473-6861. And she can give you this brochure and give your accountant all the particulars. But what's interesting about this, the tax benefits can accrue to your employer as well. If your employer contributes into this fund. It says right here, tax benefits. A medical savings account contributions by employer or employee are tax deductible. MSA earnings are tax deferred. If used for qualifying medical expenses, MSA assets are never taxed. Now, if you take it out for a vacation in the Bahamas and there's no medically related, then it will be taxed.
Well, BJ, I can assure you, unless our audience biology is totally different from the rest of the world, they will use their medical savings account money somewhere along the way.
I'm going to open one of these. I'm convinced. I've done, I've talked to Peter twice about this, and having talked to Midstate, I'm going to open one of these because and I'm going to get some health insurance. I'm going to get a really high deductible.
Well, this is what one of the advantages of an MSA is that you want to accumulate money in your account because this enables you to raise your deductible and lower your premiums.
So that
this is what you'll want to do.
You've got the money there.
Now,
so
I think one thing we want to talk about, and I was going to bring this in before we talked about the MSAs, but I think it's really got to be mentioned.
Go ahead.
And that is, I had some other pointers for people when they're taking care of themselves. The first thing is, I know it doesn't have a lot of pizzazz, there's not a lot of graphs and so forth, but quality personal care is the sine qua non of medical economics and all of this. I mean, not smoking cigarettes, excessive drinking, watching your weight, and exercising. These are the cornerstones of managing your health. I mean, the insurance is all secondary to this. By just a good lifestyle. It doesn't sound like it's a lot of pizzazz or anything, but I can assure you that this is worth at least 10 years of quality living as you get older. Because as a medical director of a medical group, I've had to review adult charts. And, taking care of yourself is going to enable you to lead a much better life than, neglect. And it cannot be emphasized.
So
all these
a little
other
bit
things.
of exercise, cut down on the cigarette smoking, quit if you can. Don't do the burger and fries routine 3 times a day like this woman who's suing McDonald's. Did you see that?
Yeah,
Is that ridiculous or what? It's as if McDonald's dragged them in, sat them down, and stuffed the food in their face, and now McDonald's is being sued. No, I watched that and I said, something's wrong with this mother. She sends her kids there. Here's $5, go get your burger, and he's stuck on that diet.
Yeah.
And she's caused this kid, 15 years old, 300 pounds, and now got childhood diabetes.
Yeah. In fact, you mentioned childhood diabetes. We are seeing a lot of this in this community right now. The children they're not florid diabetics yet, but there are not a lot of overweight youngsters, particularly in the Latin population here in Santa Maria. They're sort of predisposed to developing diabetes. But there are a lot of youngsters here in town that are showing the early signs of adult onset diabetes as adolescents.
I remember substitute teaching in a school over on, I think it was can't remember what it was. It was over near North Broadway, and a girl walked out of the classroom that I just finished, and she fell down, 300-some pounds, fell down, called the ambulance, and no one could lift her up the ground. They had to get an ambulance, and I sat there and I watched this whole charade, and I thought, what is wrong here? Is somebody's feeding this child too much, and just literally feeding the kid too much for whatever reason. And I felt bad for the child, I felt bad for the school and everybody. But I saw it a lot in the schools. Overweight kids with the weakest excuse to avoid physical education class.
Yeah, well.
I got a cold. I got an excuse from my dad or my doctor. I can't do this, you know. And they didn't want to run, didn't want to jog. They just want to sit. And I know a lot of parents run into this. You say to the kids, go outside. It's a beautiful day. That's why we moved here from Alaska or Wisconsin or Montana. You know, I want to sit here and play video games and eat snacks. Well, of course they're going to be obese. Of course these kids are going to. So you're saying people got to take responsibility.
Yeah, I think this is I have some recommendations here. Number one, you take care of yourself. That's it. That's the whole enchilada right there.
Take care of yourself. Moderate
Second,
exercise.
the MSAs. I think MSAs are a good thing for a lot of reasons. And thirdly, the third thing I would pass on to people is that it's really helpful if a person has to be hospitalized, that they have a companion in the hospital with them. Modern medicine is extremely complicated. People,
Not somebody in the next bed next to them.
No.
A well person coming to visit them a lot.
Yes, almost a companion.
Right.
No, I'm serious. The care of patients is very complicated in hospitals now. The technology's involved. There are multiple doctors seeing patients because we've gotten so specialized. And it's easy to just lose track of what's going on. And to have a companion in the hospital with a sick person, I personally think is quite an asset for that person. But I think, as we stated repeatedly, the best thing is personal care.
Have somebody who cares enough to stay with you in the hospital a lot and watch what's going on.
Well, they have, one of the problems in hospitals, a fair number of people fall in hospitals, for one thing.
And don't they have visiting hours and try to usher the people out when it's not visiting hours?
Yes, but you do have you can't stay in the hospital. For instance, in the care of children, it's very common for the mother or the father to spend the night in the hospital. So you can do this. You can spend a lot of time with the patient in the hospital.
Okay, well, with only 7 minutes left to go here, you're watching On Second Thought. I'm William Wagner. My guest today is Dr. Peter STATTI, a longtime physician and pediatrician. Is that right?
Yes.
Is that right? Did I say it right? Pediatrician.
That's it.
In Santa Maria. What else did we cover here yet, Dr. STATTI?
Well, I guess we could get into I can make some predictions as to what's going to happen, and that can get you in a lot of trouble.
Oh, I know. Go ahead. Get me in
well,
trouble.
I think we went over the major points we want to make, with the MSA and personal care.
You're afraid it'll become mandatory. Health insurance will become mandatory.
I think it will become mandatory.
Well, what if I just say I won't get it? I refuse. They're going to put me in jail for not getting health insurance?
Well, I mean,
maybe Hillary Clinton would, because she's that kind of Democrat.
I don't know. Maybe 20 years ago, if you told people they were going to have to buy mandatory auto insurance, they might have said the same thing. I don't know.
You're right.
I don't know how they would do it, but I'll throw some things out as to what I think is going to happen in medicine. I divide it up into short-term, long-term. Short-term, less than 10 years from now, I think cost of medical care is going to go up quite a bit. And one of the major things that will bring it on board is the new work that's being done in genetics. They are going to be able to, at first, detect quite early various illnesses, and secondly, modify through genetic intervention the course of illnesses. Probably do things like sickle cell anemia, prevent people from getting sickle cell anemia. These things are going to be in real demand when they come on stream, and they're going to be quite expensive. So I have no question.
But if they do a lot of them, shouldn't the cost come down?
That's a real fairy tale among groups of doctors.
Really?
Oh, yeah. I've heard this so many times. Every field in medicine has a proponent in it that says if you do it this way, you're going to save a lot of money. Well, I'll tell you, it just doesn't work that way. Everything becomes more expensive. I mean, if that were true, every field in medicine has that story. The prices should be coming down. Well, they aren't coming down, are they? So that's a fairy tale, believe me. It just now you get more quality. I have no question about that. But ultimately it costs you more because the test is used more often.
Well, a few people get more quality, but you know what I heard when your group closed down here some months ago, The scuttlebutt I heard from people was, gee, now I got to go to this other group, and I only saw the doctor for like a minute, 30 seconds. Boy, he ran me in, and the nurse came in and took some.
I'm not going down that road.
You're not going to
BJ.
go down there.
I'm not going down there. I got to go to lunch with my colleagues every day. I'm not. Now,
Dr. Statti's smart. He's not going to let me get him in that hole where I can just grind away.
Okay, I think some other things you're going to see are increased governmental control. They're going to put more money in it. They're going to pass more regulations. I think there's going to be collectivization of medical personnel. The nurses over at Marion Hospital are now unionized. They are going to start unionizing ancillary personnel over at the hospital. I think doctors are going to be.
They got a shortage of nurses.
Yes, in California we certainly do. I don't know if that's true across the country, but certainly the hospital, for instance, Marion Hospital opened up what I call May West. That's the conversion of Valley Hospital. It was Marion West. I just like to use the term May West. I can remember it pretty well. But anyhow, they have not been able to staff it. They have not been able to put as many patients in there as they want. And apparently one of the reasons is they have difficulty hiring nurses. So anyhow, I think that one of the things people have to watch is physicians and medical institutions dropping out of Medicare. The Medicare over the past 3 or 4 years has decreased payments to physicians. And because of that, there are some physicians now who are dropping out of Medicare. And this can really, since I'm in the Medicare age group right now, this is of concern. Now, this has not happened on any grand scale, and I think, I don't want to throw panic into people. That's the last thing I want to do, but I think this is something people need to be aware of.
Okay.
Or alerted to. I think obviously you're going to have more women in medicine. 50% of medical school classes are now female. I think there will be mandatory health insurance, and I think you're going to see more computerization in medicine. I think in the long term, greater than 10 years from now, I think you're going to see two things come on board. One will be a governmental single-payer system, socialized medicine.
Not socialized medicine.
For basic care. Well, even in countries like England that has socialized medicine, you can still buy insurance, private insurance over there.
I've been there. It's terrible. Their medical care is. I watched my landlord die in front of my eyes because they had socialized medicine. They call the doctor. He's having a heart attack. The doctor's drunk. The doctor on duty was drunk. And this was not a small town in England. And so they called the backup doctor. Well, he went out for dinner someplace and they can't find him. So meanwhile, the landlord with their socialized medicine that takes care of everybody was dying of a heart attack. That's what socialized. That's why I really wish we weren't going there. But you say it looks like we're going there.
I think we're going there. And I think the other thing that will come right along with it is rationing of medical care. Things like if you're well, let's use my age. Well, we better go a little bit older. Say we'll say you're 80 years of age and you have some particular illness. You just won't be able to get a therapy for it. Not with the.
Today's my birthday. I'm only 57.
Okay, well, good for you, BJ.
You're all wishing me happy birthday out there. Thank you. But at 57, I don't feel quite as good as I did at 47.
Yeah. Well, I think this is something.
I
think this is something that will come in with the government taking over. And I think that'll be one of the main reasons. The expenses are going to become so high, and their anxiety to control expenses, they'll come up with a socialized system and
scares me.
have rationing at the same time, because only the government is going to be able to ration medical care.
There you heard it from Dr. Peter Statti as we come to an end here. Did we cover everything, Dr. Statti?
I think that's about it.
We did. I want to remind you, if you got an accountant that hadn't heard of it, you can call Mid-State Bank, call Connie Sheff at 473-6861. That's a direct line, and she can explain. It's called Medical Savings Account, and I want to thank Dr. Statti for bringing that to our attention. There's also an IRS place you can go. Publication 969 can tell you more about the MSAs. This is William Wagner. I've been here with Dr. Peter Statti of Santa Maria, a pediatrician. And we're coming to the end of Second Thought. And I hope we've given you some second thoughts and a practical thing you can do to get another tax deduction Be back with the Congressman Gallagher in the future here. Thanks for being with us. Have a good day.
More than 200 years ago, Americans fought a revolution against big government.
He has erected a multitude of new offices and has sent hither swarms of officials to harass our people and eat out their substance.
George III and his bureaucrats taxed and controlled their lives until the people said, enough. The government in Washington, D.C. makes you nostalgic for old King George. The royal tax collectors took about 25% from our ancestors. This year, government at all levels will extract 50% of our money to waste. And not gently. IRS agents use wiretaps, mail openings, informants.
Hi, welcome to On Second Thought. I'm Susan King, the co-host of the show On Second Thought. I already said that, wait a minute. And the host of the show, Mr. William Wagner.
Well, thank you, Susan. Susan King, you're looking wonderful, Susan. Thank you for that wonderful introduction. I am William Wagner, the guy in the white hat. Already took it off. Have you seen people, a couple of you have emailed me, you saw Amy and you were going to sign the fluoride petition. The fluoride petition is a pink